everybody. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. And today I am in conversation with Stuti Mehrotra. She is the founder and director of Linden Montessori in Bangalore, India. And we are going to talk about the emotional well-being of children today. So, Stuti, tell me and share with me your experience being a teacher and the founder director of a school. What are some things that you feel children are in really big need of in the emotional level of development?
So thank you so much, Smruti. First of all, I would like to again thank you for having invited me on this platform of Conscious Conversations. And before I get started, I just want to say that I'm really excited about this. And it's a great topic of discussion, I feel, since we're talking about emotional needs of children. Before we can get into the details, I would like to start with the very basic thing that actually emotional attachment starts, I believe, perhaps at the time of conception itself. So there's already an emotional bonding that the baby starts having with the parent. And then, as the baby is born, it obviously evolves and it changes as the baby or the child reaches different stages of development. And right from the time the child is born, there is so much of that emotional need that is there that the parents need to cater to. So I think we often think that it's just about maybe feeding the child or the making sure that the child is sleeping on time. But in fact, there is so much more to it in terms of, the child needs that safety, that security, that feeling of being loved when the child is being held by the parent, rocked by the parent, spoken to, smiled at. So that's why it is, I'm sure that new parents find it very, very overwhelming, if I may say so at times, to take care of an infant. And I think it's really worth it because those are the initial years where the child really, really needs that sort of emotional support from the parents. And as the child grows, then it is about the need for self-esteem, a positive self-esteem. And I think it's very important that how we cater to that need in terms of really spending quality time with the child. So, when they make mistakes or they're not good at something, we should be very careful with our words. We don't just start showing anger to them or, using bad adjectives like, you're not good at it, you didn't do it well, or this is bad, or you're bad. We often say that, maybe unconsciously. So I think really making sure that we can say that, I know you really, put in a lot of effort. I'm sure we can do better next time. So these are the things which will ensure that the child's self-esteem is kind of, doesn't go down. And we help develop that self-esteem. Because again, that is very important for the child to develop emotional intelligence as the child grows. And this is something which I would like to definitely talk about maybe a little later in our discussion, where how emotional needs in childhood lead to the development of emotional intelligence, and how in today's world, how important emotional intelligence is. I remember, Smruti, when I was growing up, or perhaps, our generation, there was no mention of EQ. There was always IQ. And then it's now that we are realizing that IQ is not enough, and in fact emotional intelligence is far more needed than just intellect. So there is this, we'll kind of have to go backward from like thinking of a child as an adult. What are the how emotional intelligence can be developed, to going back to childhood, tracing it backwards, and we see how we can help the child.
I think I just want to add to what you said, not actually add, but agree with what you said, Stuti, about children needing that attachment with the parent when they are growing up. And it's so, important. And in fact, in one of the videos, there was a movie that actually was made recently called The Wisdom of Trauma. And it was made by Dr. Gabor Mate. And he's an addiction specialist. And he has made a video. If you guys can get to watch it, I would highly recommend it. And in that, he says, when children are not given this attachment when they are little, if they are not held and loved, they can even die. It's that important. And he has, in that movie, he's shown how the root of all addictions that we are all like, right? We all
Absolutely.
have some form of addictions,
Yes.
lies in childhood and in the lack of this attachment. So
True.
you so rightly said, I completely agree with you. And I just want to increase the intensity for our listeners to know how important that is. And the world is talking about it now. And I'm so happy. Like you said, the IQ has been spoken about for years. And we're so happy to be speaking about EQ right now. And I think it's time now for that.
Sure. So, and if you look at the stages of development for a child, and as you rightly said, that how important it is for an infant to be held, and that is how the infant feels secure and loved. And then we move on to the child growing up slowly, moving to the second stage of development, perhaps in the sixes and sevens, and reaching eights and nines, and that is where again self-esteem and I think appreciation again. So here we really as parents, we appreciate them a lot, we hug them, we kiss them, because this is still the need. However, interestingly, like now when you do it in front of their friends, they get embarrassed. So this is again where you have to kind of step back and maybe just give them a pat on their back when they are with friends, because again you have to understand that now the emotional need has changed in a way. In fact, there is also the other big thing, I think, for fulfilling a child's emotional needs is acceptance by the parent or the parents. It is easier said than done. Being a parent myself, and I'm sure, being a parent, you would agree that, we can easily say that we can accept it, whatever, but it's very hard for parents to accept certain things when the children want or do or have opinions. So I would actually, it was really interesting. I was watching the news the other day, and in that, they showed Malala, who's of course the Pakistani activist for women education. She was asked a question on the institution of marriage, and she said that why can't it be partnership? So, when children grow up, they may have views, opinions, which may be completely different, opposite of how you have grown up with your beliefs. You may have to challenge it, but, just accepting that the child has that opinion, not labeling it good, bad, right, wrong. We don't know. Yeah. So this is just one example, and when they're growing up, they will have lots of other opinions and stuff. So which acceptance is, I think, a big part of an emotional stability that the child will have if the parent accepts, the child in whatever the child has to do or the opinion of the child.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Shefali's work on conscious parenting has spoken so much about these belief systems that we have. And I think acceptance for the child's emotions in those areas also means looking at it as a mirror to what is it that needs to awaken within us. Because the judgment factor, which I am looking deeply into my life these days, comes from that demarcation of a clear right and wrong, a clear good and bad. And I think being conditioned to think of life as only as black and white and not any shades of gray, and that is so difficult for us because of our conditioning. But when our children question those belief systems. It's so beautiful because they're showing you a mirror. That's exactly what we need to learn. And those are the, like you said about marriage. I mean, for me, I had an arranged marriage and never dated anyone, or live-in was a thing of the, I mean, it was not spoken about, but these are things we're going to have to look in deeply. And instead of just giving a verdict, can we have conscious conversations like how the one we are having with our children to understand their perspective? I think you're so right about that, Stuti. Emotional acceptance or the well-being of the child as they grow older is dependent on all these things. And the more we are judging them, the more it's harder for them, because they want to keep that connect with us. And also, what I was wanting to say is that when children are growing up, when they are little, they're looking at us in the sense of they're understanding themselves also. And when we use language which is belittling or judging or comparing, you're not showing their true light, the true light that they are. And I think it's this way of the true light emerging is that the questioning and the all that's happening. And we are here to usher our children and hold space for them. And you're so right, and emotional development is important. However, we adults have ourselves not emotionally developed in many areas. Do you agree with me on that?
So true. Yes. I think we all are work in progress in that sense.
Yeah. So, and these are the places where our children tell us, come on, here's where you need to grow. Let me give you the curriculum. The exam is here. Now take it. Right?
So true. I think another point I would like to touch upon is the fact that many a times parents, maybe they, I mean, not intentionally, but sometimes if they may get angry for certain things. And, a child is abused physically and verbally. So I would say that, that again, we abstain, we really abstain ourselves from doing it, because that leaves a very a deep impact on the emotional stability of a child. And we don't know, the depression may last for a very long time again. And it may...
we know it, Stuti. We know it. And it's going to cause a lot of harm. But I want to just, sorry for interrupting you, but just bring a point here is those parents, like suppose I am also, like I had anger issues where I would, scream and shout. That can even be painful for a child. That is because of the holes we have within ourselves. And that's why we need to heal ourselves before we can talk about emotional well-being for the child. So if we are not able to do it on our own, we need to seek guidance by coaches or therapists or whatever it is. But it is our responsibility to emotionally heal ourselves. We can't keep on passing the blame onto another generation. And you rightly said it, if we do not heal ourselves, our children will be with those holes. That's what we are creating. And then we are responsible for those holes that we are creating in them. So it's so true. And I think it's hard for parents. Like you said, nobody intentionally wants to hurt the child, right? They're doing it. They think they have some belief systems that say that if I do this, I will get this result. So I think it's important to look into those belief systems and look into where in my life am I having those holes. And when those clear up, we don't have to keep ourselves from or stop ourselves from doing things like aggressiveness or verbal or physical abuse, because you will not want to physically abuse someone. You have respect for this other being, right? And that's where the emotional healing part of it comes.
Right. And, I would quickly give this example from this amazing story called I'll Always Love You. So this is about the mama bear and the baby bear. And this is about unconditional love. So, no matter your child may make a lot of mistakes, may fail, but still, you like give that signal to the child that no matter what, I will always love you. So in this, I'll quickly, tell you what happens in the story is that the baby bear keeps asking the mama bear that, will you love me if I fight with my with my brother, will you still love me if I do this, if I do that? Because the baby bear has actually by mistake broken mama bear's favorite bowl. So the baby bear is afraid. So baby bear is just asking in different ways that, will you still love me? Will you still love me? And mama bear keeps on saying, I'll always love you. I'll always love you. And then in the end, she actually enters the kitchen and she figures out that my bowl is broken. And then the baby bear starts crying. And then she hugs the baby bear and says, I still love you. I'll always love you. So that's an amazing story. And we also did a video on the story on Linden Montessori's channel. But, it just talks about, it's such a beautiful story about unconditional love of the parent, no matter what the child does, the mistakes and failures.
That's really such a cute story, and I think a very nice way to give that security of the emotional blanket for the child, and that is what even we as coaches talk about, Stuti, is developing that connect with the child. No matter what, everything else is form-based, but what is the main thing? It's just the connect, and the rest of it are all things we have to go through life for our own growth, for their own growth. We are separate beings on the same on different planes of development. We are developing at different levels, but I think that connect, like you said, is so important. And when that is there, no matter what you learn, what you don't learn, what you do, what you don't do, the connect stays strong. And I think that's the stability which humans are looking for in each other. Don't you agree? It's not just the child.
Absolutely.
That are looking at.
So we are looking at, when we're looking at our children, we obviously want them to grow into responsible adults and happy adults. So where does this come from? So this is the foundation. The emotional needs at every stage of their development will lead to a certain happy, peaceful, and responsible adult that we are actually hoping and looking for. So, getting back to again, so the word like emotional intelligence, there's this book by Daniel Goleman, which was published in 1995. And, that was the year where actually the term emotional intelligence became like really popular around the world. Till then, there was not much talk about it. And so it again, the research done by Goleman in that shows that, even leaders in different fields, we look at, they had assumed that, what are the qualities that a leader requires. So it was about intelligence and being tough and being creative and all of that. And only after this book was published and research was done, they realized that it was emotional intelligence which actually was needed again more than all of those qualities. So even if a leader is not so much on intelligence and technical knowledge and other things, but has high emotional intelligence, they can really lead their organizations to great levels. So of course, it's not just about that, but I'm sure they will be happy people, and because they understand themselves, they understand the people around them.
Yeah. And I think as a coach and as a person who's also on a self journey, I would take that a step forward and say, first of all, our wanting is not the only thing, right? There's also life that's happening. And yes, happy is great, but what if happy is not what shows up for the child, because their life is their own and we don't know. But that's why I feel I would like to replace the word happy with authentic. Just what shows up for you, and just be there, right, for yourself. And I feel emotional well-being is about being authentic and coming out of setbacks with that emotional intelligence that you're talking about, the emotional quotient that we have that helps us spring back into action no matter what happens. So you're so right about that it is the basis. You don't have to have everything else, but if you have emotional EQ, you are like just able to navigate through your life in the most authentic way. And it's okay to be sad itself is an emotional quotient, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yes.
For the longest of times, I could not see my children unhappy. I would keep saying, are you happy? Are you happy? But then nobody can be happy all the time. We have all emotions, right? So I want to just add to that, like for our viewers, what is it really that parents can do, whether you're children of your school or wherever people are listening to this. I think the first thing is to accept all emotions,
Absolutely.
that whatever's showing up, and when
Yes.
this emotion is showing up, it's showing up in our body as a sensation. So if we can connect to that sensation that's happening, not only adults but even children. Of course, the beginning part of this is for parents to go on a conscious journey themselves. They need to go inward, look at the cobwebs inside them, and try to clean up the inner terrain. When you're a parent, we have no choice about this, right, Stuti?
Right.
We have no,
Including me, including me. Yes.
us, yeah. I mean,
Yes.
really, we have no choice.
Yes. We
We
have no
have to
choice.
go inside the inner journey. And if your decision is to have a connect with your child, then there's no other way. Only the way in is the way, going in and seeing. So I think connecting to that sensations, and, in coaching, we use this phrase, sit with it. I think sitting with your emotions, sit with it, sit with it. What do you do when you sit with it? You just breathe and allow
Realizing.
it to flow. You
Right.
just flow, let it flow. No emotion stays forever. There's a beginning and an end. And
Wow.
different emotions come and go. Have you seen your own life? If you sit and are you always happy? Are you always sad? And in fact, children, they cry and the very next minute they are done.
Fine.
They're doing something
Fine.
else.
Yes.
So emotions are short-lived. They are messengers. They are telling us something. So if you're feeling angry, there is something that we need to look within. And coming back to that anger part, I think self-regulation is something we need to teach our children, and not
Absolutely.
teach, actually, it happens. They are not, when I say teach, I mean, we need to show them what we are doing. But instead, we start screaming with them because we ourselves are not self-regulated, right? Many times. So I think looking into where is it that I can learn the self-regulation, and your child's self-regulation happens. We have to allow them to scream, allow them to throw that tantrum, allow them to cry. Only when you allow these things to happen will self-regulation set in when they are older. The reason why we are not able to, because we are shut like a cap, a lid has been put. Stop talking, stop screaming, stop crying. All that has made, we don't know how to self-regulate ourselves even now. Do we want this for our children is the question that we need to ask, right?
I think here also self-regulation in terms of delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely, because many a times it's like we always feel that we have to, like, go ahead with instant gratification. They want something, it should be there, and then they get used to it. So even if it's about a glass of water, or even if it's about maybe having a chocolate, but I think, of course, they have to learn that at times they have to wait for certain things, which also will help them in self-regulation.
Yeah. And I think that is also taught by just living life. And look at us. Are we doing that is the question, right? We are already seeking instant gratification in terms of, I want my life to be perfect. Now, I don't like what's happening in the present moment. Change immediately. So even that is all happening. And when our children are not doing that, it's also showing a mirror to us, because that's what they are looking at.
Absolutely. They emulate us. So, yes.
Yeah, and that's what you're looking at. And, all these things come in life. Like, life is such a beautiful curriculum, right? For example, if you go to a store in India and you're standing in a line and you say, no, I want to be the first person in the counter, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So you're learning in the delayed gratification over there automatically by living life, right? But we throw tantrums, we scream, we shout. We are showing what do we do when we don't get that instant gratification. I think these are ways we can look into our own emotional well-being as well. And it's so nice that you brought up instant gratification. That's something that's a reminder to me also.
And when we're looking, Smruti, when we're looking at emotional needs of children, and especially right now, as you said, that we are still in the pandemic, unfortunately. I think we always tend to underestimate the power of humor with children. I feel that is one thing that instantly connects the child to you. And even you may have a very serious situation at home, or, something is spilled, or maybe something has gone wrong. But just being silly about it, or just being funny, and you making your child laugh, I think that will connect you instantly with the child. Even for teachers, for that matter, they say that children really get attached to the teacher who can make them laugh. So I think humor is inexpensive. Humor is mobile. We should use it more often.
I think so too, and thank you for bringing that up. And it's such a nice way to really end our talk, bringing humor into our lives in every aspect. And I think tickling the funny bone is definitely the way to go in bringing empathy, compassion, or whatever it is, non-judgmental. When you start laughing,
Absolutely.
you're not judgmental at
Yes,
all,
yes.
right?
Not being mean to somebody, but yeah.
Especially our children. So that was awesome, Stuti. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your experience with us. And we will be back with more such conscious conversations. Thank you for being here with me today. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.